he's realized how bad the corruption is, and I think we've all kind of realized how bad the corruption is with him at the same time. Like, we're all living in this moment together.
Right.
And, you know, the game has changed. Like, when he first ran, the game has changed for, like, 8 years ago to today.
Right.
So, I definitely think that it's a different ball game for sure.
You know, I don't think so. I think it's the exact same game.
You think so?
But Trump is the first outsider. He's the first person not to be indoctrinated at a young age into the political ecosystem that just jumped in. I think everybody else goes through Skull and Bones, goes through your Ivy Leagues, right? You come through your elite corporations, or you're more likely coming from family, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, every president is related to each other than Trump.
Basically.
No,
right?
Seriously, every single one of them has a common ancestor.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, well,
there's a little girl that did
dynasties.
A genealogy project on
There's
it.
There's the Kennedys, right? The Clintons.
I'm
the
not talking about any of that. I'm talking about every single U.S. president we've ever had has a common ancestor. Every single one of them. Some little girl did a fucking genealogy project on it.
Oh, really?
And she found, yeah, I'm dead serious. She's like 12 or 13 years old. She did this genealogy project and realized that every single president has the same fucking ancestor.
Oh, interesting.
Every single one but Trump. He's the only one. Obama has the same fucking ancestor this dude does.
Interesting.
Wild, right?
Yeah.
So it's all the same family tree.
That's a big family tree. What does it go back to? Like 1776?
Farther than that. You know, I'm talking George Washington to Obama. Every single president has had this dude in their family tree.
Interesting. Is that true for like all Americans or most Americans or just our presidents?
It's just our presidents.
I mean,
I'm sure that there's quite a few people in America that have that guy as their ancestor.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure that, you know, he was some king in England getting his fucking groove on. But,
maybe.
You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just like when you look at Asia and you see the common Genghis Khan marker in genetics. I mean, his genetic marker is like 50% of the world's population at this point.
Yeah.
People can find his genetic code.
Yeah.
In people.
I mean, he did a lot of things.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying though, right?
Right.
So it's crazy to know that every single U.S. president has the same ancestor.
Yeah.
So and not a lot of people even follow that or know about that. It's wild.
No, it is pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. I'm not sure, you know, how Trump is gonna wing this, because the popular vote's not gonna do him any good. You know, the electoral college isn't gonna do him any good.
Well, what freaks me out is they got that Alan Lichtman, right, already coming out and saying that Trump's lost, that Kamala Harris wins.
Right.
I don't know what living in America under Kamala Harris is going to look like, homie.
The same as Biden.
I know it's going to be the same as Biden, but like it has gotten worse and worse and worse. Like, what's another 4 years of this going to look like at the end of the other side of this?
I think we're looking at this time. We're finally at a point now where the undertows of our political system, all right, have recognized that they have to be very, very careful with the way they message about what it is to be an American and the culture that we export, etc. Because before, up until 2016, we were performing these regime changes overseas, targeting Russia, China, the Middle East, wherever, with free speech. Right. And that was the whole point. It's like, hey, you don't have free
spreading
speech.
Democracy.
You got to have free speech. And this guy that is currently democratically elected, or this king that you all really love, he's not about free speech. Like, we're about free speech, so we're going to depose of this dude, and we're going to let you guys have your own democratically elected, person come into power.
Right.
Up until 2016, this is going great. And then Trump and Brexit and all these other populist leaders start popping up all over the world, right? Yeah. And it's a problem because Trump is not an insider. He does not care for any of these, systems and these oligarchies and these, fraternities. He does not give a flying fuck about the money.
Yeah.
He wants like you were saying, he might have started off coming in just to do it for fame and glory, but then he realized just how bad it was. He's like, well, I'm president, I could fix this. And he tried to in 4 years, but he couldn't fix the political corruptions while also learning what it was to be a president and learning how our government functions. Like, I guarantee you, he had not taken a civics class before becoming president, right? And so there was just no way he was going to be able to accomplish what he wanted to accomplish. And then on top of all of that, the entire system was bucking him. We're trying to get him out, right? Lawsuits, slander, 2 impeachments. I mean, ridiculous shit. So there was no way he was going to be successful. Now, though, he has a chance to do that. But I think that, to bring my point back around, if Trump loses this election, the kind of like what he calls the deep state will recognize, okay, like, here's the things we did wrong that led to Trump in the first place. We narrowly were able to ensure Trump did not get reelected. And now that we have Kamala and Walz, 2 relatively unknown people, who don't have any backbone, who will basically do exactly what we tell them to do in power, we can fix the system for now and for the end of time to ensure that the people that we want elected are elected. Yeah. I think that's what's going to happen. And so while it's going to be more of the same. That's where we're at. It's going to be more of the same. So, but it's going to get worse and worse. I mean, the Americans, whether you want to believe it or not, are just, you're just here to serve their corporate needs. You are a guinea pig. You are a test bed. You're a place to sell pharmaceuticals. You're a place to test those pharmaceuticals. Yes. You're a place to eat their foods and whatever the fuck they want. Like, you're the most less free people in the economically developed world that I could possibly think of. It's horrible. Yeah. It's going to continue going down that road. Your children are going to become sicker and weaker, and you're going to become sadder and more depressed, more anxious. And it's just going to get worse and worse and worse every year because you're literally the same thing as a cow in a dairy farm. You're literally just attached to your feeding post and you're told to eat and drink their thing, their food, consume their products, and then die. Yeah. That's it. It's kind of depressing.
Die once you no longer have a value in your work ability.
Yep.
Take you out and put you in the Soylent Green.
That's it. And so those of us who are like yourself and me, we're all starting to realize, like, oh shit, we need to grow our own food. And I mean, in places like Portland, you can't even collect rainwater. It's illegal.
There's like 36 states that had that.
It's stupid. I mean, just think about that. I mean, if that's a huge wake up call to your sovereignty as a citizen. You're not allowed to collect rainwater.
You can't fish. You can't hunt. You can't do a lot of stuff wherever you want.
Yeah,
it's probably going to be. You can't gather berries in this area anymore. It's going to get bad. You're going to have permits for literally everything. The government's going to want a cut of everything. If you want a job in most trades, you have to work with some form of government registration and permitting process.
Yeah.
So, and then every year you have to be trained and educated, and they do it all in the guise that it's good for you, but I mean, and good for your people, and it lowers your liabilities, and you're not going to be causing house fires with your electrical. But I get the point of it, but it's all of these little restrictions add up to a lot. Like when you're paying half your fucking wages and taxes and permits and stuff like that, your buying power goes down.
Right.
You're ultimately, and that's what everybody's goal is on this stuff, is to get rid of your buying power, make you a wage slave. So credit card debt, all of this stuff goes into, all of these people are owned by the same people. These rich people, they look at you like dollar signs. So
true. And we were just talking about water, and the same thing is for energy. There are so many inventors in this country and around the world for that matter, but specifically in the United States, who've come up with alternate energy generation mechanisms. That is not your local power plant or your nuclear power plant or whatever it is. It doesn't come from your hydropower. Something that you can literally build at home and install at home. Okay. And guess what? These people all end up committing suicide, disappearing, just vanishing from the face of the earth. I think there's some great examples. Let me see if I can find one. This has been going on since at least the 40s, the early 40s. Okay.
Yeah.
Nicholas Tesla, right? So Tesla, he invents this Tesla coil, which kind of harnesses, wireless energy. That's the whole point of the Tesla coil, is to pull energy from the atmosphere and then transmit it through the atmosphere. It was going to basically produce free energy for the entire planet. And recognizing that there is an electromagnetic field that encapsulates the Earth, that's where he was going to pull this energy from. And it's strengthened by the core, right? Just kind of like our own magnetic field. While it could have been really, really awesome. We're actually super, as an aside an aside here, had he been successful, the way that his energy distribution would have made it impossible to develop the transistor. So we got lucky. So yes, we would have had free energy for everybody at all points in time, but we would not have computers the way we know computers today. So we got really lucky that that the government decided to just kind of focus all of their efforts on turning Nikola Tesla into a crazy person. Right.
Yeah.
So this guy, his name is T. Henry Maury. He develops what he calls the Maury valve, an energy device, right? Its purpose is to harness radiant energy from the cosmos to generate free electricity. It sounds crazy, and it is, but the idea of harnessing this cosmic radiant energy to generate free electricity, he was proving it to work. And then suddenly, in 1951, he dies. Right? He was older. He was 72, but literally just one day he woke up and he was a perfectly healthy scientist doing his thing, and then dead the next day, like just dead, and nobody knows why. Literally, nobody knows what his cause of death was. It wasn't natural causes, but they don't know what killed him. Gone. Yeah. Another guy, Tom Ogle. He developed the Ogle fuel system. It vaporizes gasoline, and it dramatically increases fuel efficiency. So if you know how a carburetor works, a carburetor, takes gas, vaporizes it, pumps it into your engine, into your engine block, powers the cylinders, right? This thing was hyper pressurizing that fuel system, and it was basically going to make as opposed to needing like 20 gallons in your tank, you would have needed a gallon, and you would have ran for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles, and then maybe next month you would have needed another gallon of gas. All right, it would have disrupted the entire industry. This guy was 26 years old when he came up with this system. And
there's another guy down in Vegas or Arizona that came up with a very similar system with propane and fuel, and you could get 250 miles to the gallon. They found him dead around Lake Mead, and his research destroyed, and his prototype on fire.
Right. So this guy, though, Tom Ogle, he died of a drug overdose. Okay. And this is in 81, right? So this super successful young scientist decides one day, he's like, you know what? I need to start, trying all these super drugs all at once right now.
Yeah.
God, right? So the guy you're talking about, is that Pogue?
Nah, I don't remember his name.
So that's because another guy, his name was Charles Pogue. Same deal. He developed the Pogue carburetor, which vaporizes gasoline for combustion. And just like you were saying, though, he was taking these clunky cars, right? These cars that were in the 50s, 60s that were just pure steel, right? Thousands of pounds. They got, 5-6 miles to the gallon at the
12
day.
at the most.
Right. And then he puts his Pogue, just all he did was replace the carburetor with his Pogue carburetor. Bam, 250 plus miles to the gallon, right?
Yeah.
And just like this guy you were talking about, he was found dead in the middle of the Southwest desert. I can't remember where, but just totally dead.
Probably around Lake Mead. I think it's the same guy we must be talking about.
I think we're talking about the same dude. Yeah. And again, he died in 85, completely unknown. Like, again, first of all, what is a 75-year-old doing just wandering the desert alone? He is not known to be an adventurer. This is Pogue anyway. He's not known to be this expert hiker with a history of hiking, and then just dead. But he was.
I think we're actually talking about different dudes, so that's even scarier, right? Because like the guy that I was reading about was in the 70s that he got disappeared.
Yeah.
So
it goes on though. This list goes on. Stanley Meyer, he developed a water cell that would split water into hydrogen and oxygen, use the hydrogen as fuel, and then you literally just let oxygen go back into the air. Again, same deal. It was going to completely transform. It was going to make the propelling cars down the road free. You just go grab some water, plunk it in your vehicle, and you're good to go. Uh, he died in 1998, and this dude, he was 57, and he died of poisoning. He was poisoned. This
Could
guy
you,
has nothing to do with any of the things. Like poisoning makes no sense.
dude, could you like just for a minute imagine, right, if the US government and all of these rich corporations that were putting their thumbs on the scale of innovation, where we would be at as a society of human beings right now without all of these people getting waxed. Like, could you imagine, like, if we lived in an actual free and fair society that cared more about the betterment of humanity than their bottom lines? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So you would. So the American citizen, if anybody's listening to this, to Zach's point, and I'm not saying it's the government doing this, but there. I mean, you have to understand that these corporations have a lot of money invested in their products. Okay,
I,
and they use that money for their clandestine purposes. But you
yeah.
would effectively, as the American, as a global citizen, you would not be paying energy bills. You would not be paying. Might be paying water bills because we can't fabricate water out of thin air. But you would.
Yes, we can.
Okay, not all over the place to the quality that you might need it. All right. So listen. But for the most part, let's just do energy. So you would have no electricity bill. You wouldn't be paying for gas at the pump, right? Or it would be so small it wouldn't matter. Now imagine how different your weeks would be if you weren't shoving out all this money for those things. I mean, just bare minimum to your point. Your quality of life would dramatically increase. You'd be getting so much more money every week. Your paycheck would be going that much farther. But nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Um. Anyway, this list goes on and on and on of people that were literally generating new thing. Like this guy. This is his particular work. This guy Joseph Newman. He came up with the Newman energy machine, which uses electromagnetism to generate more energy than it consumes. So it's this potential energy thing. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not a physicist. I know that this breaks a whole bunch of rules. But he demonstrated his functionality and how his magnets, this little magnetic machine, worked quite well. And same deal. He was 66 and died in 2015. Just kind of like suddenly, natural causes gone. What's really scary is that there's this kid right now today, younger dude, early 20s, who's taking that work and repeating it and building, basically taking that model and making it 3D printable for everybody. He is posting on TikTok right now. Everybody is watching because he's going to suddenly just be unalived very, very soon. He's going to disappear.
Absolutely.
And he's so young, but he's going
I
to be
hope
gone.
not.
Yeah.
I hope not, man.
I mean,
I hope that, being on the internet protects him, gives him some buffer.
no, he's fucked.
Yeah.
He's totally screwed. But I'm going to, if he is successful, if he's able to get this thing going, why not? I'm going to go try and build one myself. It's just magnets spinning around an engine, a motor rather.
Yeah.
Easy. It's nothing tricky about it.
Yeah, dude. I've seen a lot of people, and they don't just destroy you; they discredit all your work too, right?
Yeah.
And they call you a crazy person and say that you're. There was this dude that was creating a biofuel out of basically farm remnants. Like if you harvested a corn crop, they would take all of the husk that was left over, and they could turn it into a biofuel and a sweetener that didn't kill you. Like, it's insane. This dude immediately got unalived, and all of his work was discredited. And I mean, he was hiring old oil execs to work with him, and he was going to change the face of the planet, and just all of a sudden gone.
Right. Yeah. I think that's it. We got to be careful. We have to, like, this is where, if we want to bring this back to politics, why voting for the right people are so important. Like, we can't go and tackle all this corporate, corruption. That's impossible, but we can regulate them out.
Yeah.
100% by just, cutting them at the knees.
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say, the crazy thing about politics is it touches every aspect of our lives. There isn't anything that you do in this world that does not have some kind of political leaning to it. And when money is involved, that is where the politics starts getting scary, because Every single thing that is being forced upon us has some kind of monetary backing
Right.
or intrinsic value to somebody who's incredibly rich. And the thing that we all as Americans have to understand is it has never been about religion, non-religion, skin color, anything. It's about rich versus poor and how the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. And that is some unifying message that every single one of us has to recognize. Like if you are not even in the top 10%, you're basically just a product, you know, and everybody needs to understand that. And we need to come together and change our laws and move forward as a better society.
Now, I know you're not advocating for Marxism.
No, fuck no. But there is a fine line where society can work together in a social aspect without being a socialist Marxist country. I
Right.
mean, our country has been very, very fine line doing a good job of that, where we don't let the government have too much control. Rich people have always just kind of done what they want to do. It's hard to stop rich people from doing whatever the hell they want to do. But if you craft the laws to keep rich people from swaying politics as much so they can continue to grow their wealth unchecked, um, that's the good kind of regulations that we need. Not this is how you buy bread and this is where you stand in a line and, complete restriction of the free market economy where common people can't start businesses and compete against rich people. That's the stuff that we need to avoid.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And so there are plenty of metrics. This is the thing that most people don't understand. There are so many metrics that demonstrate the United States is more socialist than Scandinavian countries, Finland,
Yeah.
Norway, Sweden, the Baltic states. And when I say that, people are like, "No, that's bullshit. That's bullshit." But this is true. Our taxes are higher. Look at what happened in 2008 with the bailouts, for example.
Yeah.
Scandinavian countries, if that was to happen over there, they would not bail out those banks. They'd be like, "You're done. You failed. Right now, to the earth you recede, and something else will rise in your place." Okay.
There's a couple countries that they'll take those banks and they'll arrest and kill them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Done. Unalived. Sorry.
Yes.
Unalived.
The healthcare. We spend way more money on healthcare than any Scandinavian country. We're just really inefficient with it. With the amount of money that we spend on healthcare, if we were doing it properly and we weren't just, it wasn't just another corporate corruption scheme to get money to big pharma, et cetera, and to, I'm not going to talk about some of the other programs, but had we actually been spending this money wisely, we Americans would be massively healthy. Go to your hospital, go get your checkup, no problem. $20, $20 copay. Come in, get all your come in with all your kids, all your family. Go get your eyes checked. Go get your dental done. But we are unsuccessful because of, again, this corporate ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Welfare programs, same deal. U.S. welfare, we have an extensive welfare state. Social Security, food assistance, SNAP, unemployment insurance, housing subsidies. All of these added up together, way more than any Scandinavian country providing for their own country, for their own countrymen. And again, we consider them socialist, borderline communist, right? That's the message that the American public is fed about these other countries and why you shouldn't go there, because we're a capitalist country. Fuck those socialist pigs. But yet we tax our own citizens way more heavily than those guys do. And this is, if you look at the military-industrial complex, agriculture subsidies, the privatized socialism in terms of healthcare and education, right? Our prison system, defense contracts, the list goes on and on and on. We are far more socialist than people actually recognize.
Well, I mean, socialism, anytime you deal with the government, that is socialism, right? If you have a large government, if you have people that work for the government, the military, all of that is socialism. I hate to tell anybody that did not know that yet. Um, Being that me and Jesse were in the military at one point in time, you don't realize exactly what socialism feels like until you are in the military or you work for some government. And you see the same people sitting around on their duffs doing nothing, getting paid the same amount of money that you are, depending on your time in service. And go to medical, and the doctors suck and they just prescribe you pills. Oh, you got a headache. Here, have some ibuprofen. Oh, you're missing an arm. Here's some ibuprofen. It doesn't matter. Just slinging pills at you because, you know, they don't care.
Yes.
They're not making any money. They don't care.
It's so
They
true. It's the and this is, I think, anybody who served in any sort of military capacity in the United States anyway will recognize that there were those who went above and beyond consistently every single day.
Yeah.
They fought and bled for the country. They wore, that American flag on that patch on their shoulder with pride. And then there was the other guys that were there just to collect a paycheck. They did as little as possible, just enough to stay out of the brig. And I mean, ultimately, their careers, they slowly advance because their time in service and all these points slowly start adding up, and they make it up the ranks. But my God, they do nothing, and there's really not a great system to hold them accountable. And it's getting harder and harder to remove these people from service, especially, God
Well,
forbid, they make
dude, right now with the recruitment issues that they're having, I talked to my buddy just last week, and he was talking about how awful it is to discipline or get rid of anyone because of how bad the recruitment and retention rates are within the military. I cannot imagine that level of nightmare dealing with any of that from a leadership position. Or I feel really bad for where the United States military is right now.
It's only going
So,
to get worse.
and
It's
it
only going to
is,
get
it is
worse.
getting worse every single day.
Look, I mean, so you and I'm 39, you're 40.
Yeah,
Having a conversation with like a 25-year-old is tough. It's really tough.
it is. It
I
is
have
tough.
to be like at work, I'm a fairly senior person in my company. And like not super senior, but I'm you've been doing it for
Senior
11
enough,
years
yeah.
now. Right. And so I have a bunch of people that I need to task and direct and make sure that they're doing the things that they need to do. And depending on their age, oh my God, the social dance I have to play to ensure I don't offend somebody, to make sure that they feel valued. And like, don't get me wrong, like
Yeah.
people who do well, it's the best. I can sit down and be like, oh my God, you're killing it. You've done X, Y, and Z. You're slaughtering it. And for the most part, for 90% of the people that I work with, it's like that. They're just overachievers. And like, I have to rein in their energy and enthusiasm and get them focused on the thing. So it's great. It's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
But then there's the 10%, right? And they're not bad. I just need to redirect them and make sure that they're doing the right thing. And I have to be so careful with what I say and how I criticize their work. Because if I say the wrong thing, I don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to break into tears? Are they going to go have a conniption? Are they going to require a safe space? Like, I don't know. And so I spend on these 10%, like, the inordinate amount of my time, the high percentage of my time, catering to the social contract that they require. It's tough. It's tough. And it's not their fault, right? I mean, because, we're all Americans, but it's the product of their upbringing, right? It's these social movements that are ultimately rooted in what they were eating and what they were consuming at a very young age.
Yep, what they were filling their bodies and their minds with.
Yeah.
What their families were filling their bodies and minds with. There's two though. I mean, we've had 2-3 really bad generations with it. And I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying where the American values, morals, ethics, everything that was the American way of life has drastically shifted. Good or bad, I mean, it has changed. And I'm not seeing a huge positive towards our health with that shifting of our moral values and our ethics within America. Because you think the everyday citizen is bad. It's when you become, part of a machine that people really kind of shut their values and their ethics down. You don't matter. They're not looking at a human being anymore. They're looking at statistics. They're looking at spreadsheets. They're looking at bottom lines, right? They don't see a human face to that. That's the kind of stuff that people lose when you get lost within all of the metrics and trying to turn profit. Right. They don't see the human value that is lost or affected by what we're doing.
And you know who does? Smaller companies. if
Oh
you have a
yeah.
company, so there's a Gore-Tex. Okay, so Gore-Tex is a model where when a given section of their company grows to more than 150 people, they split it in half and they create two of that. The
Mm.
idea is that in the social boundaries for a given human, the most you can do to the most you can conceptualize in terms of the social awareness of all the people you're working with and understanding who they are and how to play together is about 150 people. After more than 150 people, you start to lose your identity. You start to lose the more social groups start to form that you're not a part of, et cetera, et cetera. And it becomes harder and harder to work within those
Mm.
boundaries. And so Gore-Tex recognized this early and started saying, hey, okay, so any given unit, we're going to have units of people that are all working together to produce the things that we make, but no more than 150 people will work together. There's also a flat hierarchy that they try to maintain. Obviously, there's still bosses and whatnot, but they maintain a super flat hierarchy where everybody is on equal footing and they're just taking, their leads from like a conductor, so to speak. All right, so they're all kind of moving at the same pace and they're massively successful. And so what happens though, the converse of this is, companies like, big tech, Alphabet and Google and Microsoft and all these massive companies. The DoD is a really good example of this, where you have hundreds of thousands of employees across the world. You don't know, like my team, I have met, half of my team, in person. The other half I'll never meet because they're all spread out across the world. There's nothing wrong with that, but how do you build like those connections? How do you actually work, with your fellow person that when you're never ever going to meet them in person? I could have this Teams call. But
I'm about to say something you hate.
well, wait, just stand by here real quick.
Okay.
Let me finish the thought.
I'll let you finish.
So this is why we're seeing so much effort kind of going into breaking up these massive monopolies, because these massive monopolies are all ran by these figureheads, right? These CEOs, these big people, and then they have their directs, right? These VPs, EVPs, what do you want to call them? And then they kind of task and direct at the very, very top. They have no idea what's happening at the bottom. They are completely blind to what's happening in the trenches of their company, right? They're taking directions from stockholders. They're looking at the price of their stocks, and they're doing whatever they can to increase them. But when you have smaller companies, all right, when you have your mom and pop stores, like you could choose as a citizen, you're like, hey, do you want to go fight? And in that corporate world, do you want to go run your way to the top? That's 100% an option in the United States. Or do you want to just go work at your local mom and pop computer repair store? Oh, should be an option, but it's becoming less and less likely that you're going to choose the smaller companies because the bigger ones are gobbling the ball up. And so you will not have any sort of identity where you work. And that's kind of bullshit. Anyway, you're gonna say a thing. Apparently, I'm not gonna like it. Go ahead.
That argument is the perfect argument as to why states' rights are amazing. Just saying.
Listen. I on the nose. We could have a states' rights argument. We could totally do that.
No, I know.
I'm just saying it's it is. Here's a really good example of where states' rights gets wonky. Right, is the whole abortion problem.
I know.
That was a really great example, because now you got some women in some states that are now having to go to other states for their health care. I understand that abortion is a super touchy subject. Luckily I'm not a female, so I don't have to really have a crazy opinion on it. And I'm also not in a position of authority to have to have an opinion. But regardless, it's becoming harder for women to go and seek that healthcare when they need it. And then also education. Education is another great one. Some states, their education for like K through 12 is in the gutter. You're going to go in there and you're going to learn about how to make Kentucky Fried Chicken. Right? And then
or
in other places,
17,000 freaking gender ideologies and
exactly
no math.
You're gonna spend your time as a second grader contemplating critical race theory. The fuck? Right? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. As a second grader, I need to be really worried.
Make sure they can read and do basic
they are.
math.
They're learning to read to learn about critical race theory.
Yeah.
When I was in second grade, I was trying to be the best goddamn dodgeball player in the school. Okay, that was my point in life. That's what I was doing. I was good at it. I did not care about anybody's color of skin. But now I don't know. Apparently, these kids have to deal with that. Like, they're children. They don't see this. It's insane. Anyway,
Leave,
and other
leave
schools,
it
by
for
the way,
college, man. Keep it in college.
a whole nother system. That's another.
Yeah.
There is.
I
I can't
I'm
wait
I'm a
for
little
the
bit
AI
torn.
revolution.
I'm a little bit torn about the whole education debate. Like I get the concept of having a baseline standard that all states have to meet, where you just say this is the bare minimum requirements, right? I just don't understand why we need, you know, the Department of Education when it is so clearly political now, and it doesn't really help the children learn when they're pushing all of this other crap on us, right? So
Yep.
why not just get rid of the Department of Education, kick it down to the states, but also say this is the bare minimum that you have to meet. This is the bare minimum.
That's kind of the point that I'm eventually getting at. It doesn't really matter because here in education, especially, is about to get completely turned upside down with AI. AI is going to change the way everybody learns.
I mean, it's already done pretty much a lot of damage. I mean, teachers are having to come up with all these creative solutions to make sure that people aren't,
Damage is
cheating,
good,
cheating.
dude. See, that's the problem, right? So in old school, grade school, okay, and university, yes, you need to worry about people cheating and yada yada yada. But turn the page. That's old. Tests and stuff like that. That's the past. Now that we have an AI that can literally be your teacher. So
Yeah.
the way you learn is not the way I learn. Right, you are an awesome student. I know this, right? Just knowing you can go.
I wasn't.
Today,
I am now.
Today you are, right? I'm still a really, really bad student. I still have the same problems. Like if you were to put me as a 39-year-old into a college system, I would probably fail yet again because it's just not how I learn. I can't sit and be lectured at, and I need to go out and practice the things that I need to learn. And I'm just, I don't know. I'm kind of an idiot, and so I need somebody who is massively patient and willing to answer the same question over and over and over and over and over. And every time I ask the question, you need to give me yet a different answer because the first one didn't work and the second one didn't work and the third one didn't work. I told you I'm an idiot. And so I need you to find the way to teach this to me. And so my AI, I have several co-pilots out there that do different things for me, but they have all learned, I have trained them on how to interact with me so that it's this most efficient. And if you extrapolate that, to like the education system now, as opposed to having one teacher per 30 kids, 25 kids, whatever that ratio is today, you will now have a 1-to-1, and that one AI will know you as a student perfectly in terms of how you need to learn and how you learn.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to just streamline information straight into your brain because it's going to figure out whatever it is that you need to do. Are you more
so
hands-on?
long as it's the right information, though, Jesse?
That's another prop list.
That
Let's
is
not even go
the
in there.
terrifying moment is when they hook you up into the matrix and they learn what they want you to learn. Right?
Well, it's already happening, sir. Critical race theory is already being shoved down your face.
I like critical race theory aside, it is all of the crap that people are learning that won't help you get a job, won't help you be successful citizens of the United States.
Yep.
Like we don't have any kind of like civics lessons anymore. There's hardly any history, like you need to be learning all of the good things and the bad things that your country has been through, not just the bad, like they've been teaching you. And I don't know, it's just crazy to me that we can't come to a consensus that kids need to learn how to do basic math and basic reading and basic science, and critical fucking thinking. Like that is the most important thing that everybody needs to learn, is like how to decide whether or not somebody's selling you a bunch of crap. Because that's the hard one. It's like if you're being swindled by everyone, like because you didn't learn how to critically think, like, oh, man, your life is going to be rough.
Yeah.
Everyone is going to take advantage of you all the time.
Yep. There is this kind of this is part of it. We can even go even further into it, but when you have things like Khan Academy, right, which are literally these institutions that exist outside the system that are pure, and they're literally they want you to learn to the best of your ability, and they want you to learn what you want to learn and at maximum efficiency.
Yeah.
They are not an institution in terms of like, hey, I'm going to teach you these things that really kind of conform to my way of thinking. No, it's just open source. It's like, come in, take a look at what we got, pick the one that works best for you. And so it's those systems that I think are going to do really well. And when we eventually do have a functional Department of Education, and we do have this AI machine to help teach our kids, that's when things are going to be massively transformed, I think, for the benefit of everybody.
Yeah.
And the other thing to consider too is just think about the computer revolution. Remember when we were growing up?
I know.
And even now, I have 3 massive desktops, sitting next to me. These things are huge, right? And heavy and they're just a pain in the ass to deal with. But at the same token, I have this tiny phone, and it's close to as powerful as these guys, right?
Yeah.
This will not only have the power of the internet, but it will have that AI, running right on top of it. It's going to be insanely more powerful, and it will be able to basically kind of like, be my personal assistant. And so when I encounter things that I'm unfamiliar with or could be potentially swindled, guess what? My AI is going to be like, meh, stop. Do not do this thing that you're thinking about doing.
But
it's
also
100% a hoax.
But also terrifying, because like, what if it is a legitimate thing that the government no longer wants you to do, and they're controlling your AI, and they say, do not collect rainwater. Rainwater is bad for you, Jesse.
Here is the awesome thing about AI right now, is that it is all private. And these private institutions really, really do not like the government messing with their money. And
until they become the government, because Google could become the government very quickly. And they just put the politicians in power that they want, and now they're the government.
There's 2 possible scenarios that you're describing, and yes, that is one of them, right? But it's at least in this version of reality that we live in today, whatever you want to call it, okay? It seems more and more likely that the private institutions and government are starting to kind of like, walk away from each other a little bit. I don't know, that's just what I'm saying, because I'm seeing more and more congressional hearings, more and more Zuckerbergs and Brad Smiths and Microsoft, and these CEOs being held accountable to things that they're producing, and it's great because it's creating more conflict between big government and big corporation. We want to kind of keep those nucleuses as separate as possible.
We absolutely just like church and state, man. Keep that shit separate. We don't need anybody controlling anything. Like, we just need everybody to be able to have a fair and even playing ground as much as we possibly can. And that's what the government is supposed to be doing. It is not supposed to be tossing work to whoever.
Right.
I've never liked when anybody's putting their finger on the scale and changing outcomes.
Right.
Like, I've never been a big fan of that.
No.
Like, you shouldn't be able to pay $20 subscription to whatever, and now they turn the work on for you.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, we're unions, church, whatever it is. If you have to pay dues to something and they make your life more comfortable, it's not a good thing.
I'm not a religious person. I'm not. I grew up in a very religious house. But even when I was growing up, even at a very young age, we'd be at church, and all through my teens and whatnot, we'd show up, the preachers are saying things and people are reacting a certain way, and I didn't understand it. Like, everybody's hands are in the air. There's these worship sessions going on. I've been indoctrinated. I must have been indoctrinated, because I've been doing it since I was like, as far as I can remember, showing up at church and doing Sunday school and potlucks and stuff like that. I loved the community. I never understood the culture, though. I never did.
Right.
And I still don't. And then, of course, as I get older, I'm like, oh shit, I can go research these things that are being said. I can go look into the Bible. And then I find out that these stories have been told way, way back. The Egyptians had the Moses story. The Sumerians had the Moses story. All of these things happened. The Great Flood, all of this stuff has been retold and retold and retold. But fast forward to today, from being, as a kid and a teenager, especially kind of bucking religion, to today, I'm starting to not become religious, so to speak, but I'm starting to recognize that we, as a human collection, that there's something else that's all kind of like connecting us. And I don't want to go down that road, because we can spend our entire day just in this thing. It's super fascinating.
It is fascinating, and I find myself drawn, just like politics, to theology.
Yes.
I do.
Another podcast.
They yeah.
Theology at the Tavern.
Yep.
We could totally do it. Okay. I
We'll
wanted
have
to.
to wear our Sunday best every day.
Yes, dude, that would be so good. I would love that podcast so much. It's so good. There's so much happening, especially now with what's happening in archaeology and just what's coming out from history. But I wanted to get back to our politics at the tavern thing. Okay, I really, really do.
One last thing.
Okay.
Did you know? And this is going to be crazy, right? They found more mummies and Egyptian pyramids and stuff like that in the United States than they have ever in Egypt.
It's all in. Are you talking about in the what do you call it? The bait. I literally just lost the name. It's in Arizona, Nevada.
No, I mean it's everywhere in our country. I'm talking like Colorado,
Grand Canyon, the Grand Canyon,
all of that.
So, did you know that 90% of the Grand Canyon is off limits to the American people?
I did not know that.
It is. You're not allowed to go. You can't fly over it. You can't put a drone through it. You can't hike it. You can't raft it. You're not allowed to go there.
Wow.
90%. And like,
I did not know that.
If you get close, a park ranger doesn't show up and say, "Excuse me, sir, you're about to go into a dangerous hiking zone. You should probably consider leaving." No. Apache helicopters will pop up and literally point their guns at you and be like, "Get the fuck out." Like, and there's, if you go to YouTube and you watch videos of people trying to sneak into these spaces, on the other end, ominous helicopter lifts up and just starts coming at you, and you're like, "Oh, shh, time to go." And they're not joking around. And why? Yeah. Because so if you go back in like the 50s and 40s, even earlier, people were excavating like, random little sites in the Grand Canyon and finding Egyptian hieroglyphs. And they're like, "What is this? Why is there all this Egyptian shit here? It makes no sense." And then right after they started getting cut, they were being discovered. Bam. Nope. No more of that.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's crazy. That's wild.
Yes. You should go look at these stories. It is so.
I love this stuff.
Dude, here's what you need to do. You need to go somehow become independently wealthy so that you and I can just go fuck off and just tour this country and go investigate all these mysteries.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you do that.
I think it's more than just independent wealth at that point. You need super high political clout.
No, if we could just go do these things, we could be little clandestine warriors going out investigating the Grand Canyon. And it's like, "Hey guys, we found pictures with our DJI drones. Here y'all go." And then we just have to evade arrest. That's all we have to do.
Well, we've already proven our crimes by putting it on the internet, so we're already fucked.
We would do it super smart. We'd have AI post it for us.
We got to start a third podcast, and we'd have to wear masks.
Clandestine shit at the tavern. Yes. That'd be amazing. Okay. I'm gonna circle this back to some comments because I really need people to understand who we are, and people it's not evident, and it's like, once again, we're literally an hour into this podcast, and you'd kind of get an idea of who we are just by listening to us. But now we're kind of sounding a little conspiratorial, off in the ether. But ultimately, our politics are grounded in real life, and I'm looking at some of the comments that are coming from our TikTok, and they're great. They're great. They're obviously, people aren't going to just, fall in line with the messaging that we're saying. But I really want people to understand who we are and what we're bringing to the table. And it's not like, I am ultra left and you're ultra right. Yeah. That's not the case. You and I are everyday citizens. We are, we're employed, we're educated, we are trying to make America, better than what we inherited, right? That's ultimately what we're doing. And we're just using our own eyes to observe what's happening around us and then just relaying the results. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything other than to, hey, here's what I've seen. Please double check my math, open your eyes, and go do your own investigation.
Yeah. And if I said something ever and it's absolutely wrong, tell me. I'd love to hear it, because I don't want to be running around with my zipper down, showing my wiener, I would love to be corrected.
Absolutely.
That's how you learn. That's how you grow.
Right.
You find your mistakes, you fix them.
Here's the thing, and this is what ultimately I want everybody to do, though. If we say a thing and you're like, "You're wrong," and you're going to give us examples of why, that's awesome. But you can't come at us with examples from CNN and MSNBC. because we're literally the message that we're saying is like, hey, big media is traditional media, social media is directly influencing the way you think, right?
Yeah.
It's reprogramming you from every potential digital and analog medium that you're consuming. And so you need to go out and do your own research and come up with your own opinion. Because right now, if you're consuming this legacy media, social media, you're consuming the opinions of other people. You're not reading what's actually happening. You're not going to the source and seeing and hearing what Trump said and what he actually did, or what RFK said, or what he actually did, right? Or Kamala, right? Or Tim Walz. You're not doing that. You're hearing the opinions of other people and you're taking them as scripture as opposed to doing your own research. And so what we're doing is we're doing our own research and we're relaying those results here. And we're asking you to do the same. And that is how you will start to change, the narrative of this country. And either one of two things will happen. You'll do the research and you'll find out that we're wrong. And then you need to absolutely come back to this podcast and be like, so any of the social medias that we're on, and be like, bam, here's exactly why you're wrong, Jesse or Zach. And then we will be like, oh my God, you're so right. Or two, you're going to go out and you're going to try to substantiate what you believe with fact, and you're going to find that the only thing that exists is the opinion of these political pundits and talking heads, and then you're going to realize that their positions are super weak. And you're like, maybe I had to rethink this. One of those two things is going to happen.
Or you can just call us a bunch of clowns and go about your day, and we'll just ignore you.
I mean, that's also very true.
I've been called a lot of names in my life, and it just rolls off my back at this point.
It's whatever. I don't want people to step away from the conversation because ultimately as this podcast grows and matures, it will become more and more communal. Right now, it's just you and I talking because that's the audience. It's you and me. We entertain each other.
We do entertain each other.
Yes. So that's why we're here. But I want to start including more and more of the people that are listening in the comments, right? And actually address them as if they were in the room with us. Because that's the whole point. The point of Politics at the Tavern is to have a conversation with our friends and people that, if you and I were sitting in a bar right now having this conversation, guaranteed there would be 2 or 3 other people around us that would have jumped in already. And we'd all be at a pool table now, talking, shooting pool, having some good times, not agreeing on anything necessarily, but we'd at least be talking. And that's the whole point.
Which is drastically what we've been missing in this country is honest conversation with each other.
Right. Like
building a community, restoring faith in humanity, right? Because I don't trust 90% of the people out there. I really don't, and I know that's the worst way to go about my life. And I think that everybody needs to appreciate that most Americans want America to continue being a good place to live. We're invested in this country.
Yeah.
We have families, we have homes, we have communities, and we need to go back out and start building those community ties again and rebuilding what America had, saying freaking social media companies, basically. I mean, it ripped us apart.
Right.
Because now everybody can be a keyboard warrior and you can say all of the most heinous troll stuff you want without any repercussions. So I don't know. It's pretty sad that we can't communicate anymore with each other. And hear the ideas that are coming out of each other's mouth. Because I don't know how many times I bounced ideas off Jesse, and he's like, dude, that's the wrong way to think about it. I'm like, man, it's a good thing. Or vice versa.
Yeah.
It's how critical thinking works. You have a bunch of ideas in your head, and you throw them out into the world, and you see what sticks, and what is good and what's not good. You don't just become a squeaky wheel and throw a fucking tantrum and try to change the world that way. Like, it's not working for us. It's just pissing everybody off.
Right.
Now everybody just wants to fight. It's not good.
No. And the other thing that we offer that you're not going to get anywhere else is that we're just human beings. We're just 2 regular dudes. If you wanted to, for example, go talk to Charlie Kirk. Okay. Charlie Cook is just going to Charlie, whatever.
Charlie Kirk.
There we go. Goodness sakes. Charlie Kirk is just going to, he's going to just blow your mind with the philosophies and histories and the structures of political systems. And he's going to talk at 10,000 foot view. He's going to include crazy information from all over the spectrum. He's going to be able to out-reference you, just debate you. And guess what? And it's impressive. He's a super smart dude, but it literally has nothing to do with anything. Because for you and me, as just the average American voter, I don't need to know about the philosophies, the intricacies of any sort of political system. All right? I don't need to know exactly what makes a democratic republic different than a democracy. I don't need to know that to vote. And more importantly, it doesn't influence my vote. And so going and trying to understand and learn and engage from some of these people, Tucker Carlson would be another one. He's insanely smart. He's going to be able to do the exact same thing, come at you with oodles of history and examples from all over the place. But how does that impact the way you want to vote and how you're going to think about things? If anything, it's just going to be confusing, and you're going to have to go find out go research exactly what it is that these guys are talking about. Zach and I aren't going to do that. I'm less interested in the philosophies of how we got here today. I just see what's happening, and I want to vote in a way that's going to make it better. That's all it is. And so we're not going to get hyper theoretical here. Like, I don't care. I literally do not care about what the 12th president of the United States did, that bifurcated this thing and ultimately ended up in this political system or this point of view. I don't care. Like, let's just get it the fuck out if it's a problem, right? It's as simple as that. If it's a problem, vote it out. Yeah. And that's how I kind of think about it.
And this current administration is a problem, right? This current administration has made everyone's lives harder. Everyone's lives are harder right now than they were 4 years ago. And you can blame it on whatever you want.
COVID.
You can say COVID did it, right?
Right.
I moved to Idaho in 2021, and I was able to pay without working for both my college and my house and all my bills, right? Just with my GI Bill and a little bit of passive income, and my wife doing a little bit of work 2 days a week. We were living just fine. 2 years later, I'm working, and I almost can afford the same exact things as when I was going to college. I mean, life has drastically changed in just 2 years, and it had nothing to do with COVID. It has everything to do with our response and what the administration is currently doing in office. And they're not doing a good job. I don't know anyone who is enjoying life right now under this current administration. I don't even think rich people are having a good time. I know investors are complaining about the house prices and rent. Like, nobody's having a good time right now. So I don't think we want that to continue. And I'm not telling you how to vote, but use your brain a little bit, and ask yourself, is it going to get better, or are they just going to sell me another fucking song and it's just going to continue to get worse? Because it has just continued to get worse every single year, every single month. I'm not seeing it. And they're lying to us all the time. All the time. I just saw this report about how they've changed the job numbers and then retroactively gone back and changed them back to the actual numbers. They'll come in and say, oh, the job numbers have been fantastic. And then they'll go back and be like, actually, it was like 30 or 40,000 people, jobs less. Month after month. This is the third or fourth month that they've corrected already. They'll come out, oh, the jobs are great. Nope, they weren't.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy.
If they develop a new metric or a new way to measure something, then they can retroactively go in the past and say, hey, this is a new, better way of advertising or looking at this data. So we're going to do this retroactively. And of course, they're going to develop a system that makes their, administration look better. Of course.
Yeah.
That's what they do. But explain this to me. Maybe this is another thing we can kind of talk about a little bit, but like, there is, even amongst my college educated friends, okay, and these guys are all patriots. They are, through and through, red, white, and blue. But when I have anything critical to say about the government, or if I have to say something along the lines of like, hey, our government lied to us here, here, and here, I'm immediately met with insane resistance. Jesse, how can you say that? The government would never do that. The government is infallible. They would never lie to the American people. You're a conspiracy theorist. I don't even know how to combat that. I have no
This is
idea.
the only way, right, that I know of, right? Just like science, you have to rip things apart to prove that they're true. Okay? Science and government should be treated the exact same way. Somebody should do something, and another person should come behind them and rip it to fucking shreds and see what still works. Okay? We're not doing that. We're not doing our due diligence. We're not coming behind somebody and checking their work and making sure that they're doing good things. In science, in our government, in just our everyday, we have taken the hands off the wheel and just been like, treat me like a wage slave,
Right.
because that's what our mentality has been. We want to freaking watch the internet and turn our brains off and just let somebody else run what is going on around us. And it has done us a huge disservice. So tell your friends, man, treat it just like the scientific theory. Prove
I,
them wrong.
I will. I have tried. And so here's the thing, right? This is my favorite. My favorite point is my point is, hey, the government is lying to you, and they're like, no, they are not. Prove it. And I come to them with data, and they rebut with their own data, but that data is from the very sources, the very government institutions that I'm claiming are lying.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, see, but their own study says that they're not lying. Case closed, Jesse. And I was like, guys, you can't use that data. It's misleading, right? It's purposely misleading. Look at these independent sources. And they're like, yeah, but that guy's a quack. That guy's a quack. That like the entire like COVID is a great example.
Yeah.
I'm like, and they won't even hear it. They won't even hear it because it's unpatriotic and it's unintelligent to not go get the jab, right? All these things. It's like, oh my God. Okay?
Right.
And if I can't break through, and these guys are just like you and I, they're, I went to college with these guys, right?
Yeah.
We still maintain a good, relationship. And if I can't break through to them, it's like, and I am a close friend, I'm in the inner circle.
Right.
How could we possibly try to get this message out to just random internet people
to think differently?
Yeah,
100%.
I don't know.
100%. Maybe we just have to go out and break the internet with something,
Probably. I mean, we need people to realize that people run the government, and that the very same people that they hate, right, and hated in high school and hated in college, hated at work, are the very same people running the government. And if these people would lie to you in high school and lie to you in college and lie to you at work, they're going to lie to you in the government.
Yes,
they have their own agendas. They're going to continue pushing them. They're not just because you joined, the Department of Justice doesn't suddenly make you a great person.
Yeah. And, we've talked about how Donald Trump is kind of, this outsider, right? He doesn't conform to a specific party. He is fully 100% shredded the Republican Party. Like, there is no Republican Party anymore, right? It is just Donald Trump and then the aftermath of what the Republican Party was. If there's no Donald Trump, there is no unifying message on the right for the Republican Party anymore. And he's done a little bit of that to the Democratic Party as well, but it's not nearly as bad as like what the Republican Party has right now. And he's more of an independent, right? He is not adhering to a lot of the political lines. He's kind of just whatever makes sense from a common sense perspective. And it's really kind of refreshing to have somebody that does that. I don't know. It's just we've talked about this a lot, Jesse, and it is just incredible to have that experience in my lifetime, to see, the political party breakdown, that two-party system kind of just shattered. And have somebody that's actually looking out for the American people. I don't think that he started out that way, though. I really don't. I think that it's just kind of, as the government has attacked him, it's just evolved who he is as a person and his way of thinking, and realizing that there is a serious problem within our country with the corruption and the pandering and the lobby system and the money and just everything that is the higher echelons of our country. So
Yeah, it's true. He is an interesting guy. Like I agree. I think he came into this thinking one thing, like as a
yeah,
president. It's going to be another, you know, another The Apprentice, but at a government level. He's going to come in and he's going to have all these TV shows and White House press briefings, and he's going to talk to the American people and fire all the bad guys, right? And it's going to be this whole show, this whole dog and pony show. But then he got in there and he's like, "Oh shit. This is crazy corrupt. I can't even do my little dance. I can't even do it. Like, these guys won't let me. And I'm the fucking president. Fuck these guys." And so then by the end of his presidency, when the entire machine was out to get him, and he was completely over it. And then at that point, he was, like you were saying, they were attacking him for so long and so viciously that even though he wasn't really invested initially, but when you attack somebody relentlessly, it's going to just strengthen their resolve to fuck you over. Like, they're going to come back. And it's just true. It's just human nature, right? You kick me.
Unless they roll over and give up.
Yeah, you can totally do that, right? They're cowards,
options,
right? There are weak people out there. It's fine. Not everybody has to be super, super strong. But Trump, like,
he's a fighter, dude.
He's at the very end of the day, he's egotistical. And he has billions of dollars. And he knows what his worth is. And he's not going to let you just, push him over. There's just no way that's going to happen. And so now we are witnessing the battle of the Titans. We got Trump on the left, and we got the entire not the political left. We got Trump on one side of this fight, and then the entire political system on the other side of the fight.
Yeah.
And we're watching it in real time. And that's why we got Walk Away, this whole hashtag Walk Away movement. Like, where I'm a part of it, where I'm like, oh, you know what? I see it for what it is now. Yep. Thanks to you. I see it for what it is, and we have to buck the system. It has to work for the American people. It has to.
I mean, you're seeing literally every political dynasty uniting against Trump. I mean, we've got Cheney, we've got Bush, we got Biden's, Obama's, Clinton's. Every political dynasty is backing Harris right now, and trying to shoot down Trump. I mean, it is insane. I've never seen anything like that before.
And it's I didn't realize how pervasive it was. There's this team. I mean, I just read this the other day. So here's what Trump's up against, and it's almost impossible because this is just one example of many. But every county in Arizona is literally defying its duty under state law to expunge illegal voters from its system. Yeah. They're not doing it. And so this team called America First Legal identified the gap, said, hey, Arizona, hey, counties, every single county in Arizona, you need to go do this process. It's the law. And what did the county state election boards or the county election boards say? Fuck you. We're not going to do it. And so they're literally in court. They did this on September 4th. They filed the motion saying, you can't just illegally let these guys sit on the ballot. By state law, you have to remove them. Like, what are you even doing? Yep. This is just one state, and it's a battleground state, but Trump has to go out and deal with this everywhere. And until this system is healed, it will never function right. And so how can and Trump is up against everything. It's not just Kamala Harris trying to win. It's not just the DNC trying to make sure that their candidate gets into power. No, it's state politics. It's federal politics. It's every major agency everywhere out trying to get rid of Trump because they know the second he comes into power a second time, Elon Musk, RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, all these people are going to come in and clean house. They're going to clean house. And they're like, I'm sorry, you can no longer use the American government and its people to funnel money into your various businesses. Fuck you, get the fuck out.
I've got so many things just right. You do not want the federal government to have the power to pick and choose for us, right? You do not want on any side. Nobody wants this. So nipping this in the bud now is what we need to be doing. Because if you could imagine for a second, right, if you're on the political left, like if you're left leaning, whatever, if the country decided to put Donald Trump into place and nobody voted for it, right, that would be a travesty, right, for everybody. If Donald Trump was the monster that they said he is, he's not. But imagine they pick anybody else, right, and they just slap them in and be like, this is who you're voting for. Or your vote doesn't matter anymore, and it's just, this is who is the president now. Okay. We do not want this system in place within our country. So we need to really fight back against what is happening, where in Arizona, they're fighting legal battles, right? We don't have free and fair elections in this country anymore. We shouldn't be having to do this crap. It should be a 100% rock solid system. We shouldn't have any of that problem. I forgot what my other point was, but I mean, it's insane.
It is. I mean, Kamala Harris is a perfect example of what's happened in this system. Kamala Harris was literally queened. She's like, here's your crown.
Yeah.
Now you're our president. Off you go. Like, who voted? What process, what democratic process did she walk through to earn the nomination of the DNC? Not a single fucking one. Nothing. Not one. Literally just one day, Biden's like, I'm out, Kamala's in, and everybody is supposed to accept it. And they did. Like,
they did accept it.
The fucking left, fighting. My own people, just accepted it. Fuck all of you, because that's not good. That is not healthy for you. It's not healthy for our country. You need to be discerning. Oh, but Jesse, here's the argument, Zach. But Jesse, it's so late in the process. We need somebody. We need somebody to run against Trump, and we don't want to start at the ground zero. We need somebody right now who can jump in and just pick up the race. No, fuck you. I want a voice. I want to come in and see who the candidates are, and then cast a vote for one of them. I don't want some fucking private institution telling me who I get to vote for. Right. And if you're okay with that, then you're an idiot. I will just call you an idiot to your face. Yeah. And I'm sorry. And you're one of me. I was on the left. I still am. I'm still liberal leaning.
Yeah.
But democracy first. And if you want to just abdicate your right of the vote, then you're not an American. And I don't care what you have to fucking say.
Today,
big words, but I'm fucking serious.
Yeah. Today it starts with 6 months is too soon for a political candidate to be chosen. Tomorrow it'll be a year, then it'll be a year and a half, 4 years, 10 years. You'll have all your presidents picked out for 100 years.
Right.
In advance. They'll be like, Casey Anthony's going to be born on this day. She's president now.
Right. Right. I mean, if you think about it, it's already kind of happening. I mean, presidents have to start running for re-election earlier and earlier and earlier.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
I mean, when I was a kid, it was like a few months out. People would be like, oh, yeah, we got to go vote. And it's like 2 months before election.
Right.
Now it's like a year and a half, 2 years. They're already talking about the next election cycle.
It's so dumb.
It's exhausting.
It
is exhausting.
It is. Not even the FIFA World Cup does this.
It's great for people like me and Jesse because we love politics and we love seeing it happening all the time. So our favorite TV show's on 24 hours a day.
It is.
But it's got to be exhausting for everybody else. Like if I had to listen to Christmas music 24/7, I'd be ready to unalive myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
So,
it's just so dumb, man. But people need to fight for what is American. And you by all means continue to have this, faith in your political parties, by all means, and fight and argue for it. But you can't just be told who to vote for.
No.
Which is what is happening today. Trump, at the very least, ran through the entire political system, the whole, dog and pony show to get to where he is today. Right? He earned his delegates. People backed him. People voted for him. And now he's the nominee. Yeah. Nobody did this for Kamala. And you know why? Because nobody would have voted for her. If you're listening to this and you're now like, I'm voting Kamala Harris. Well, guess what? July 11th, you would have not been voting for her.
Nope.
If you had an option, you and me were thinking the same thing. We were like, wow, she's kind of a terrible VP. Like, yeah, well, I'm not sure what she does here, but go Biden. But VP Harris is good.
Did I send you that Trump ad where they didn't have any Republicans talking about Kamala? It was just the media talking about Kamala.
Yeah. No. I don't think he did.
I'm going to send that to you. I'm going to send that to you right now.
Okay. But I
It's
know exactly
brilliant.
what you're talking about. Like, we, on the left, have been very vocal about our dismay and with Kamala Harris. Like,
Yeah.
even with her going down trying to solve some of the root causes of the border problem, like, which we, just like the people on the right, care about. We want a healthy and secure border. The fringes on the left want an open border policy, which is the most fucking stupid thing I've ever heard of. I'm sorry, you're dumb. But for the most of us, we want a healthy border. We want to make sure the right people are coming to the country, that they're coming in legally and all these things. And Harris was supposed to go fix that. She didn't even know which border she thought she had to go protect. I'm pretty sure she almost got on the wrong plane and went to Quebec. Said,
well, I mean, when Lester
Quebecians.
Holt was asking her about it, she was like, I haven't been to Europe either. You know, I was like, what kind of answer is that? Shut the fuck up. Do your job. Like, it's not that hard.
She is just a disaster.
Just do your damn job.
I'm sorry. And it's, again, most of us, July 11th would have been like, Kamala who? Right?
Yeah.
Other than the best possible thing that would have come up from the left. Who's Kamala Harris again? Oh, that's right. She's our vice president.
Yeah.
Whatever. She's not important. As long as we have Biden, we're good. Which was the case. But now she's suddenly our nominee. No, fuck that. I'm not playing ball. I'm not playing ball. I'm voting for Trump. Because if you're going to take away my vote, then I'm voting for the other team. The other team that at least is trying to do things democratically.
I mean, if you want to preserve the American way of life, if you want to tell everyone within this country that the American people do not accept what is going on within the country right now, where they are bypassing our politics completely and just installing whoever they want, you need to vote Donald Trump. Like, you have to send a message. Like, even RFK recognizes where we are right now, right? When he stepped out and endorsed Trump, like, he recognizes where we are right now. We are on political cliff right now, where if the American people do not get out and voice their opinions, we will not have an opinion on the next go around. They will change the laws. They will change so that we will not be able to do anything that we want. You know, and it is dangerously close. It is dangerously close.
And I'm not even sure it matters, because they just made it legal. They made it legal for illegal aliens to vote, as long as they believe at the time of voting that they were a citizen. Okay, which is saying it's totally legal. They let in minimum over the course of the last 4 years, 3.5 years. They let in a minimum of 9 million illegal aliens. That's what we know.
On the southern border. That's the southern border. It's closer to 11.
Right, for all up. And those are the minimum numbers, by the way. It's probably much, much higher, because it's really hard to see who's illegally coming into the country, because there's no fucking wall. There's no nothing. They just stream right over. And all of these people are, I'm not saying all of them, but it opens up Pandora's box in terms of what's going to happen if they suddenly are bussed to a voting station to go vote. And if, just like using this example in Arizona, right? If these counties are refusing to abide by state law and removing people, illegal voters, from the registry, then what? Then, like, where is the democracy here? It's all being taken
what
over.
are we doing? What's the point? Might as well just give up and let everybody control our lives.
That's
what
basically
you eat, what you say, what you do.
That's what you want.
You just wake up when they tell you to wake up. You go to whatever job they tell you to go to. You work it for whatever hours they tell you to work. You put in your body what they tell you to do, and then you clock out and you go to bed whenever they tell you to go to bed. Might as well just get fast forward and get to that point, because that's where we're heading.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, like we've started off this whole podcast. It's illegal for you to collect your own rainwater. It's more than likely where you're living. It's going to be illegal for you to collect your own rainwater. Just think about how absurd that is.
But it's okay for you to inject black tar heroin or crack.
Yes, and the government will give you needles to go do these things.
For free.
For absolutely free. And then you can go steal up to $900 of stuff immediately afterwards to go, and you won't be prosecuted. Does that sound American to you? Like, can we just accept that this is maybe we're living in bizarro world right now? Yeah. This is the most un-American thing. So, Zach, we were talking about this. Did you actually get a chance to check out jointheresistance.org?
For about 5 seconds.
Okay, so this is
I've been so busy the last couple of days.
That's totally fine.
I need to sit down today and go through quite a bit of little things here and there.
So It's called Rescue the Republic. There's a huge bunch of people that are coming in to support this. RFK is at the helm, probably the most popular figure who is representing this. And on, I think it's September 29th, Washington, D.C., on the Mall, they're asking everybody who feels similarly to come and support this cause. And so I'm just going to read this thing so you can hear it once and everybody can kind of hear what it is that these guys are doing. And this is ultimately what we're kind of talking about here is that it's a unity movement coming together to, to take back control of the American government for the American people, which is what we all want, right? We certainly do not want big interest, big media, big anything controlling our government and controlling policy and raking in trillions of dollars off of our back, off of our health, off of our sovereignty. We don't want that. So here's what they say. I'm just going to read this and then we can kind of talk about it or not, depending on what you think. Okay. So this is our moment to defend and celebrate the values and principles that have made America and the West the freest, fairest, and most productive society in the world. At its heart, the West is an agreement to distribute opportunity as widely as possible and to allow the market to reward those who produce wealth from which we collectively benefit. Our civilization today is in grave danger, and every single principle in which the West is based is under simultaneous threat. This moment demands radical change and requires liberals, conservatives, and independents of every color and creed to unify to rescue the West. Simple as that. That's
Simple
what they're
as that.
doing. Yeah. And so they have 8 pillars. They want to address the military-industrial complex. Their creed here, their principle is that war is always the last resort. And today, that's not the case. Today, war is right at the top. If there's an opportunity to go to war, we go, right? That's what's happening. The medical-industrial complex. Their principle is they want to sanctify and recodify informed consent. Right now, we do not have it. Like, just think about the jab. You were literally given a jab. You have no fucking clue what was in it or whether you even needed it or not. Daddy government told you to take it. You took it because you're a good boy.
I mean, we could make a whole podcast just on our medical system, just on that talking point alone, honestly.
Yes.
Like, I really, really, really hate that you have to sign pieces of paper now that says they can charge you whatever the hell they want. Like, you should never have to pay for something blindly.
Right.
In any way, shape, or form. Our medical is so jacked in this country. And there is no real solution to it other than getting rid of the greed,
Yeah, absolutely. So then their third point is the censorship industrial complex. That's what we live with today. We've been talking about it for the last, couple of weeks. They want to banish state media control and surveillance. That's their third pillar. That's their third priority. Yeah. That's amazing. I would love that so much.
Yeah.
To get out of the magnifying glass of Big Daddy government.
Yeah.
The immigration industrial complex. They want to enact a rational border policy. God forbid we're a sovereign country.
Oh, no.
Okay. The next one, the injustice industrial complex. They want to ensure that we have that they end lawfare and the abuse of the judicial system, which we're seeing right now being levied so insanely hard against Trump.
Yeah.
They want to address the financial industrial complex. There's only 3 more of these. And in this case, they want to secure monetary freedom. Because right now, if you're not aware, several of these government agencies are working with some big tech companies to potentially produce, or I should say, working with the Treasury to produce a cryptocurrency for the United States, and where they can monitor the transactions of every single American citizen. Right. And then that does not sound like a good thing for anybody.
You don't like. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, right?
By all means.
You don't want anyone to be able to flip a switch and just shut your life down. Like, it is. I don't really enjoy the thought process of being full electrical everything, because at one moment in time, somebody can pull a breaker and your life is shut down, right? If you don't have any ability to provide for yourself, cook, shower, whatever, in your own home without somebody turning it off,
And you see it a lot where they freeze your assets in a bank, you know,
Right.
because they've deemed you've done something wrong. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. You don't want anybody to just be able to turn you off with a flip of a switch. So we need to be really careful about how we go about the next few years with the advancements in technology. So
Well,
that's where I'm going to end that little
no, and you're
sidebar.
not wrong. And if we convert the USD to digital currency, then absolutely it will be just like that. It'll literally be in a given second, we can shut your life off. We can access restrict access to all commerce in the United States in one flip of a switch.
Yeah,
that sounds scary, especially considering the rates of corruption within our justice system.
I'm gonna jump back in. Sorry, you're gonna be like, Zach, Jesse, like how could that be possibly a bad thing? Just like imagine a situation when someone is in control of that you don't want to have control of that. Imagine the worst possible scenario in your head and go, do I want Hitler to have this ability? No, I don't. I don't want him to pick and choose who is the winner today and who is the loser today. Just imagine the worst possible scenario when you're dealing with legislation. What could go wrong? Use the critical thinking skills that you have and say, do I want anyone to have that power? If the answer is no, you probably shouldn't vote for it. You should probably vote against it. So,
I mean, you could just you apply that thought process just today.
To
so
everything.
If you're on Team Kamala, imagine a world in which Trump has that power.
Exactly.
If you're on Team Trump, imagine a world in which Kamala has that power. Do you want to give her that kind of power? Do you want to give Trump that kind of power? I mean, I'm voting for Trump. I don't want to give him that power. Not even fucking close. I want to walk away from that because I mean he's a vindictive son of a bitch, and he's gonna clean house. But I mean we don't want anybody having that kind of power over every single citizen in the United States.
No. You don't want anybody to have that kind of power over anybody.
No. The next point that they have here is they want they want to attack a developmental industrial complex, and so here they want to restore family sovereignty. They don't want they don't want government institutions telling you how your kids need to be raised, what medications they have to take, what inoculations they need, vaccines, what they have to learn, what they have to do. There's a family unit, there's a community unit that government is trying to override, and they want to restore that back into the system. And this goes back to the states thing, the states' rights thing. There is the community of, like, just take a New Yorker, a family that lives in New York. The values that they have is not the same as the values that Zach has, right, in Southern Idaho.
Nope.
They could not be more uniquely different. And the idea of having a mandate that applies to both the New Yorker and the Idahoan makes no sense.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think we can all agree that this is a big country. We all think about things very differently, and that we should have that freedom to think differently.
100%.
And the last but not least is attacking the academic industrial complex. They want to return to truth-seeking and open dialogue, which is exactly what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And guess what? We haven't been deplatformed, but we've been censored on YouTube. Already, we had one video that made snuck past the algorithm. We hit 1,000 views, bazillion likes. But then as our podcast was about to pop off, what did we do? We talked about the assassination attempt. Bam! We got blackholed. And so this is something that they want to address. So.
Oh, and it's funny. Like, I was listening to the news today, and Congress has been talking about a second shooter off the water tower, dude. I mean, that is hitting Congress. I love every second of that.
It's the Republicans are doing an amazing job at really getting to the heart of this. The Secret Service, this new director, this interim director, is just up there lying every day to that panel. Yeah. Every day he's summoned, they ask him the questions like, hey, we asked you to go do X, Y, and Z last time you were here. Give us your results. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I don't know. What? A shooter? Somebody got shot? Where? Right? I mean, it's just like, you ask this guy, who is Donald Trump? He's like, I don't know.
I have no idea who that guy
speak
is.
to.
Never heard the name
Yep.
one day in my life.
Exactly. Where's Butler, Pennsylvania? It doesn't exist. It's not.
Never
it's
heard
fictional.
of the town.
It's fictional. Something the left made up, or something the right made up.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I just have so many problems with everything that's happening. Have you been following anything about Tim Walz stuff and all this crap that they've been finding out from what happened in his state during COVID and just since he's come into power?
What do you got?
They have found that they basically, if your child decides that they want to be a different gender in school and it goes against the parents' wishes, Tim Walz created legislation that allowed your children to be taken from you and to be transitioned against your wishes. Like, point blank, basically kidnapping your child and doing whatever the fuck your 12-year-old child wants to be done to them.
It's crazy.
Like, I hate to say it, but you don't have rights until you're 18 for a fucking reason.
And even that's too young for some of these things.
I mean, for most dudes, it's about 30.
Right.
Let's be honest. We're fucking idiots until we're about 30. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we should not have a lot of ability to do much of anything, with, in regards to our brains until we're about 30.
I remember, like, if we go back, let's just go back in the Wayback Machine real quick. When you're growing up, right? When you're in middle school, okay, and you saw high schoolers, right? Those 17, 18-year-olds. They were fucking men and women. They were adults. They were rock solid human beings. They were intimidating as shit. Yeah. They were something to strive to be. Like, I'm going to be that. I'm going to be like them one day. And this is the 12, 13-year-old Jesse, right? I was like, wow. And every single year, I would graduate to the next grade, and the seniors would get a little weaker. They weren't quite as good as they used to be. They weren't quite as strong, as fast, as influential, as charismatic, as beautiful, as they used to be.
Yeah.
They're a little weaker every single time. And by the time I was a junior, like the senior class, like and my own class, as far as I was concerned, with a bunch of jokes. It's like, you guys are like so dependent. Like, I remember, again, back when I was, in middle school, like these seniors had jobs. They were going to work after school. They were supporting families. They were getting married. Some of them already had kids. And now, like my class, they could barely get their shit together. They could barely get to school on time. Some of them weren't even graduating. They were in jail. They were all of these things. And now
it's gotten worse and worse and worse.
And that was God, that was what, 20 years ago, 22 years ago. And so now you go and you look at these same schools, these same seniors, they are fucked. Like, they are beyond confused. They're under incredible mental duress. They don't know who they are, where they're going. Asking them, hey, go start a family. What? Like, no, they couldn't. Having kids.
And to be fair, most rent in this country is $2,000 a month.
Like, I'm not
you're not finding a high school job that's going to give you enough to pay rent. I mean, you're not going to be making $4,000 a month.
No,
working a high school job.
Don't get me wrong. Everything's stacked against them. Yeah. But just it's, and I'm not blaming them, the kids themselves. I'm just saying
right. It's the society's treatment of them.
They are not mature.
Yeah.
The 18-year-old in 1996. Okay, when you were 18 in 1996, you were this close to you were ready. By the time you left high school, you're gonna go start a family. You're gonna go get a job. You're gonna go to college. You're gonna do something with your life. You have the tools and skills you needed to go do a thing. The 18-year-old of 2024 needs to be coddled, needs to go back home with mom and dad, needs a room, right? Yeah. Maybe can't work. It's a little too stressful, okay?
Not prepared. They are not prepared for a boss to tell them that they're a fuck up.
No. They're not prepared for any of that. And it's a whole bunch of reasons for it. So the idea then that a 12-year-old can go and make a decision about their gender or whatever the fuck it is, that the word that we need to use here, is mind-blowing.
Yeah. I just imagine, like, would you allow somebody to do something to their body like, I don't know, get a face tattoo at 12? My Little Pony on their face or
Right.
a turd emoji. No, you wouldn't, right? Because yeah, you know what? Even tattoos aren't permanent anymore, right? But you wouldn't allow that to happen. That is an irreversible change. And no matter what you think about it, any kind of irreversible change to somebody whose brain isn't ready to make those kinds of decisions is not a good idea, right? And I'm not trying to be backwards. I'm not trying to get into a huge debate about it. You just wait until you're 18, and you can legally make that choice to fuck up your life. Like, at least do that.
Right.
You know,
That makes sense to me. That makes sense.
you want
to
to get
me.
a face tattoo at 18, go for it. It's still a bad decision.
Stupid.
It is a bad decision.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry if you have a face tattoo. I bet you regret it.
Right. Anyway. Yeah, there's a lot that we need to go and fix. And it just starts at the with your vote. It starts with your vote. So we got to start thinking really, really hard about this next election cycle. And
it's like, what kind of America do you want to live in tomorrow?
Yeah.
Do you want to go back to 2019? 2019 was great. 2019 was a great year.
I mean, I want to go back to 1978 where food was good and our kids could actually run a 7-minute mile, and people were coming out of high school equipped to deal with the world.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I hear you, man.
That's what I want.
People could afford housing.
Yep.
People could afford vehicles. People could afford anything and everything they needed to. Like, that's the kind of America that we want, everybody to have the ability to live in.
Right.
Regardless of who you are, what you believe, you have the ability to succeed in this world.
Absolutely.
That's where we need to get back to.
Agreed.
I think that's my closing thought.
I'm just going to agree with you. All right, man. Well, as always, appreciate the time.